You are Locked On Vikings POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Another heart stopper at Soldier Field. Vikes hold on in overtime, 30-27. What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Vikings postcast right here, Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Remember, you can always find the show on audio under Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed and on video on our Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. So much to get into, fellas. Where does this one rank among all-time Vikes-Bears classics? Plus, that Sam Darnold game-winning drive in overtime was nasty. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, you can start the season with a big return. New customers, you place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Go visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Ron, Vikes hold on in Soldier, in overtime. This team's 9-2, man. Where is your blood pressure at, though, 10 minutes after this one just ended? How are we feeling? What are the vibes? What are your A topics after this one?
I'm pretty sure on Locked On Sports Minnesota's Football Roundtable, I said that Caleb Williams would have a big game. And I said that because of the offensive coordinator change, and we saw it in full bloom. Also, welcome to the team, Keenan Allen. I don't think the coordinator before this knew Keenan Allen had actually signed with the Chicago Bears. When you look at the way Shane Waldron was calling plays versus Thomas Brown being a descendant of Sean McVay, for those that didn't know, he's with the Rams from 2020 to 2022, former running back from the University of Georgia, former NFL running back. So he understood the assignment, which is throw the ball quicker on first down. And I said that in the breakdown. I did it in my plays on pregame. And I appreciate Caleb Williams for making me look extremely smart. Here's the thing that he also did. On third down, Keenan Allen was targeted like 9 times to 10 times, I think. Every single pass just about was targeted towards Keenan Allen. And that was just a mental note of the coordinator saying, look, this is a guy I know I can count on. I don't know if I can count on DJ Moore. I don't know if I can count on Romeo Dunze. I know I can count on Keenan Allen. And I think that was the big difference. The other side of this with the Vikings, you won, but you got to do better. You won, though. And that 4-point sweat, I know I feel sorry for those that bet the Vikings to cover. I'm with you. I'm in that 3.5.
You're sympathetic for a friend. A friend might have done that.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Significant to some.
Good. Good teams find a way to win in this league. We know
Johnny
that.
Munt had one job to do. Just get out the way. Get out the way.
And the false start on the overtime, and he got pulled. Meltdown pulled Nick Muse, finished the drive.
Is he still the best tight end 3 in the league?
He's lucky that.
But he's tight end 2 right now because Oliver's out. So
yeah, that's true.
He's overwhelmed.
Yeah, the spotlight's too bright for him at tight end 2. Tight end 3, that's his
Turn
spot.
him off.
Who would you rather have? Keenan Allen versus the Vikings in any game, or Nick Mullins for one throw coming off the bench, cold turkey when he did? Who would you rather have? Both are like Hall of Famers.
3rd and 13 at that.
3rd and 13.
Dude,
3rd and 13.
He did it
catch
versus
and run
the
under.
Jets.
That was all Aaron Jones, man. That was just a that was a predetermined catch and run. I think that is
100%.
All along, we should have had Nick Mullins do all the red zone throws against the Jaguars because he would have hit Aaron Jones out of the backfield on that interception to Justin Jefferson. Nick Mullins threw it to the underneath because he said, you know what? I've seen Kirk Cousins do this. Let me try this on 3rd and 13, and it worked.
Nick Mullins saying, I saw the report about Daniel Jones. No, we do not need him.
For real.
Kibosh that. Yeah, Luke, what do you think? It's all fresh. It's all raw, obviously. Not the way that we expected, but really, on paper, Vikes going into Soldier. By the way, KOC 3-0 in Soldier now, and he's 9-4 all-time with the Vikings on grass. I remember there was all my buddies, I used to watch the Viking game and go, oh, it's outdoor on the road? There was like a decade and a half where it was like, no, we're going to lose that game. 9-4 on grass now. But just your biggest takeaways, kind of broad overview, top of your head, now that it's still fresh.
such a classic Vikings Soldier Field game where they just played so much better than it turned out, but they still got there. The thing for me, and I guess we'll get to this, is Sam Darnold hurting his foot, coming out for a couple plays, coming back in, engineering the rest of a long drive that in any normal game is the dagger. You go up 2 scores with 2 minutes to go. They don't have any timeout. That's the dagger, right? Unless you have a ridiculous onside kick snafu. And then having to come out in overtime and do it again. and another long, I think it was like an 11-play overtime drive to get to first and goal, chip shot for your weird kicking operation. It's got a backup long snapper and a backup kicker in. Make it easy on them. What a gutty performance. And it's so disappointing that the broadcast missed that angle of it entirely because they were too busy talking about how Caleb Williams is still kind of good, I guess. Like that broadcast pissed me off so much. There were so many beautiful storylines happening on the Vikings with Quessenberry clutching up, with Cam Robinson going down and Sam Darnold, all this drama, these third downs. And they just like could not bring themselves to stop talking about like Caleb Williams, how he came off in their pre-broadcast meeting that they very clearly did not have with the Vikings.
Yeah, 100%.
Get wrecked, Fox. You guys suck. Your favorite team lost.
Can we just talk about and just kind of dissect here for a couple minutes how they got there, how they even got to overtime in the first play? Shout them out. Shout out any just big plays or turning points in those final 2, 3, 4. They're up 8. It's 4th and 1. They're at the 10. We all knew they weren't going to go for it. They tried to drive them offside. Okay, so they go up 11. They go up 11. Yeah. How about Stephen Gilmore almost with the game-sealing interception in his hands? That one's going to get glossed over pretty quick. But, Caleb to DJ Moore, 20 seconds left for 25 yards over the middle of the field on an absolute rope. Any other just big play? There were so many to go through and sift through. But shout them out. Sam, any top of your head, any big plays that you remember that kind of swung this one in either way?
Right. Well, it starts with the kick return, right? Yeah. The kick return, and the Bears had no timeouts at the time. So if you're going to make them march 80 or 70, I don't know if they make it. They weren't great with clock management in this game. Really slow operation before the halftime, and then kind of again on that drive. And Luke's right. Like if this is a normal finish, and the broadcast laid out the improbability of recovering an onside kick. It is this year 0%. Over the last 5 years, it's probably about 5%. It just doesn't happen. And if you're having to recover onside kicks at the end, I mean, I'll take that. I'll take that every week. This was super fluky, super unfortunate. I think they probably relaxed on defense on the penultimate drive. They let Chicago have the yards in exchange for the time. And hey, Chicago scored with 22 seconds left. They left themselves almost no time, but when you recover an onside kick, you're already pretty close to field goal range, and it only took one play. And the Vikings kind of gave them that play, hoping that maybe they could get another hand on the football, block the kick. But all the credit to the Bears. I like to think this is karmic payback for 2009 when Brett Favre had the miraculous late game heroics to tie it up, and then their spirits got crushed in overtime. This was kind of the inverse of that, and I like to think that this is payback 15 years later.
Yeah, 100%. How about any other big plays, though?
Much
because there was
leverage.
55 minutes of other crazy football played outside of those last few minutes in overtime as well. Keenan Allen, that challenge overturned, that turns into that
huge
blocked field goal. I mean, boy, that was really close. The muff punt that Sam alluded to earlier. OT almost had a muff punt by Powell, but he was down. Even had a chain gang injury time out there for about 3-4 minutes that kind of stopped the momentum. Luke or Ron, shout them out. Any other big plays that you're just going to remember when you go to bed tonight or wake up in the morning and think about when you think Vikes Bears today?
What, that first touchdown?
Yeah,
that Jordan Addison touchdown, contested catch after the big play he got to get him to that. I mean, this was really a Jordan Addison game. They completely sold out to stop Justin Jefferson. Both Addison and Hawkinson end up over 100 yards on the day. They lost to Hawkinson at the end of the game when they finally started paying attention to three, and it was very much a like you can't guard all three of these guys kind of game. It felt like watching a basketball game with a big three.
And I mean, people joke. We joked on the Ron Johnson show with Spice Adams, and I said, "Hey, Spice, if you're the coordinator for the Bears, how do you stop the Vikings?" He literally said, and it's on my Instagram story for those that want to see. That's 3 Ron Johnson on Instagram. I just reposted the story. He said, "I'm going to double or triple team Justin Jefferson." And I said, "What about Addison? What about Hawkins?" He said, "Good luck. I'll let them win." And it literally that was the game plan. You could tell every time Jalen Johnson, if it was anything behind him, he was letting go of whatever was in front of him. And that's why he gave up the touchdown to, I think that's another big play, the touchdown to Jalen Naylor. That's another one. And the Bears did it. And I hate to say it, this might be like the Cardinals. If I'm the Cardinals watching this game on TV, or I watch it back this week, I'm doing exactly what the Bears did, which I'm putting coverage over the top every time he runs anywhere near the red zone. I don't care if Jordan Addison scores. I'm going to stick with Justin Jefferson because it was close enough that they felt like, you know what, we didn't get blown out. Now, the fact that the Bears scored 27 points, I mean, my goodness, like their offensive coordinator has to be going home right now. Like, who cares that we lost? Like, he's probably rubbing his nipples right now because he's like, man, I I did it because, again, when he got fired by the Carolina Panthers or the Panthers whole group got fired and he was no longer the offensive coordinator, he probably, people probably didn't think he could do it. And look at him now. He has weapons. He has a quarterback. And he deserves an opportunity to be the Bears offensive coordinator. If Eberflus doesn't get fired, I would just make Thomas Brown. I would change it now. I'd say, look, you know what? You are now – I'm interim tag gone. You are the offensive coordinator. I want you to be our offensive coordinator going forward. Another thing that's going to stick in my mind, maybe it's not a big play, but the amount of penalties on big plays. So you look at the
that was Jefferson's
play.
Real production.
Yeah.
But you look at the penalties, like the holdings, the pass interference, but even the offensive ones. Like look at what's his name, Brandon Powell. Like, how do you not understand the rub route? You can't just run into the guy guarding Justin Jefferson. Like, just getting in his way and then lay him. Just slow him down because the play still happens the way it happens. But you running into him like that to me, again, I'm gonna wake up in the morning like, man, Justin Jefferson could have had a big play and a touchdown, but Brandon Powell was out there playing rugby.
It seems like 7 years ago now, too, but the Aaron Jones fumble to really open the game. They march all the way down the field. Aaron Jones fumbles at the goal line now. Huh?
I've got a stat on that, too. I looked it up. I mean, because it
us.
just feels like the opening drive turnovers have been so bad the last 2 years. So I checked on it. 9th opening drive turnover in 28 games since last year started. So 1 in 3 games. Tops in the NFL, and the number 2 team has 6. So it's tops in the NFL, and it's not close. Can't happen.
And what was the other crazy stat they showed on the broadcast? Vikings were the only team to not score a rushing touchdown in the second half in 27
That was
games.
so weird.
Shout out to the
the
Dayton
other
Triangles.
I knew
The
you
Dayton
would-
Triangles, yes.
Dayton Triangles.
I think they played the Bears when they were the Decatur Staleys.
Okay, if that's real, somebody do a fact check in the comment section if that's real.
I think
props
that
to you, game MVP.
the Ernie Nevers, the Duluth Ernie Nevers played those guys.
Plenty
Back
more
when
to
they
get
would just
into.
name the team after the best player.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Plenty more to get into. Let's do a little bit more deep dive on Addison's and Hawkinson's big day, plus some big name injuries to note we should gloss over as well. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours on end. Right now, Hillsdale College, they're offering you 40 free courses, including Introduction to Free Economics and The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic. And all of Hillsdale courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go even further with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy their daily lectures. Right now, go to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. Absolutely no cost, and it's so easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Go sign up today. This episode also brought to us by PrizePicks. PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, now with more than 10 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get into all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. It's so simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Football season starting to get into crunch time now. This is when things really heat up. So whether it's anytime touchdowns, receptions, tackles, sacks, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your PrizePicks entry today. Last week, I told you I love Justin Herbert, over 239 passing yards versus the Bengals. We nailed that. This week, I like Matt Stafford, under 262 passing yards. Eagles got the #1 passing defense in the league. Last week, they held Jaden Daniels to 191 yards through the air. Plus, don't forget, PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay as well. Quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the PrizePicks app. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's win or lose. On any $5 lineup, you're getting $50 instantly with promo code LOCKEDONNFL. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, so, on the football party, we brought up, we went down memory lane. We talked about all the crazy Vikings-Bears games. Where in the world, and that's a high bar, by the way. There's a lot of them to sift through and choose from. But where in the world do you think this one's going to rank when the dust settles and we look back in a few years? Because it feels like it's got to be up there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, was this game pretty? No. But it also wasn't ugly.
Kind of.
It wasn't ugly in the way that recent games have been ugly where there just wasn't any execution. Like there was actually a lot of execution in this game, and there were single plays along the way where mistakes were made, right? Like the botched punt was obviously a huge swing in the game, but there was some really good offense, some really good defense. There were big swings on special teams, most of them in favor of the Vikings. Like this was in some ways actually a pretty well played football game between two higher functioning offenses, and it had a bunch of drama at the end. And I think that we'll remember this one for a long time. It's kind of up there with 2015 when Teddy Bridgewater led a last-second drive. It kind of feels that way. That's 5 in a row now in Soldier. I know the games are weird there, but Vikings legitimately have the Bears number right now at Soldier Field, which I never thought I'd say in my life.
By the way, how about the Teddy Bridgewater game in Soldier when the clock malfunctioned? I don't think we even talked about that in the football party. Teddy kind of rushed everything, and it turns out there was like 55 seconds left. There's a lot to sift through for sure. Let's just do a little bit more of a deep dive on this offense, because I saw a stat this week about the offensive numbers since Christian Darrisaw has gone down. And Cam Robinson, we'll get into the injuries. Cam Robinson has done a great job, all things considering, just jumping in the middle of the season. I think he's done a pretty good job. But you look at the numbers by game. Colts game, 21 points. Jags game, only 12 points. Titans game, 23 points. And I know a lot of that comes down to turnovers. But right now, after this Addison, I don't want to say breakout game, but monster game, Hawkinson at the end really dominated. What's the vibe right now with this offense, especially after watching Sam Darnold do what he did in overtime and lead them down for that game-winning field goal? Ron, what do you think?
Well, here's where I go with that. I know you were talking about the Darren Orlovsky tweet. He said, like, in the first whatever games with Christian Darrisaw, where the Vikings were versus where they are without him. Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold just had his biggest passing production game this season without Christian Darrisaw. Nothing against Christian Darrisaw.
Or Cam Robinson.
Or Cam, right? Right. Cam Robinson went out too. I hope he's back. Oh my God. Did they even say what it was? Did we end up hearing what it was?
I don't think we ever got that, and I don't think we ever got a replay either.
So
all-time broadcast
foot ankle area for Cam.
Okay.
Hopefully it's nothing bad and they can just tape it up because he doesn't have to move laterally or at all, he doesn't have to cut off of it like a receiver or running back. He just has to anchor it. Hopefully it's not bad. But yeah, maybe they move on to the third offensive tackle on the left side now. But going back to the Dan Orlovsky tweet, so the biggest thing I noticed is turnovers. Turnovers are the reason for that 5-game skid within Sam Darnold's game. The interceptions in there, all that little stuff like that. If you throw those out the window and he drops the ball off here, he throws into the flat there, he runs for the ball, understanding the down and distance. Even today on his 4th and 1, I don't understand why the minute he steps up, he doesn't just go get 1 yard. Like, go get 1 yard. I get he saw T.J. Hawkinson open, but go get that 1 yard and then let's play again. That's where Dan Orlovsky, often when people just stare at stats and they don't watch the game, they get lost in what actually happened, and it's been turnovers. That's why the Aaron Jones turnover to start the game was extremely annoying, because it's like, look, if he doesn't do that, they have a clean, perfect game, and they probably win this game 30-14 or something like that, because it doesn't go the way it ends up going, even though on a lot of the turnovers it wasn't like they got hurt, but it adds more points to the Viking side of it. And so that's one thing I'd say about that, Luke.
Yeah, and just to your point here, Ron, the touchdown to interception ratio, it went from 14 touchdowns, 5 picks, and then after Darrisaw got hurt, just heading into today, the last 3 weeks, Colts, Jags, and then Titans, it dropped to 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. We should talk about these injuries here real quick. Obviously, man, that Soldier Field grass, man, there's something up with it. I hate it. Ivan Pace with the hammy, walked off on his own power. Cam Robinson, a foot or an ankle. It sounds like we'll find out here maybe over the next few, press conferences with KOC. But 2 massive names here. Grugier Hill, we've already seen do a good job of filling in for Cashman, so I'm not overly concerned, although I don't want to underplay losing Ivan Pace. Cam Robinson, though, already the fill-in for Darrisaw, obviously. Now we're back to David Questenberry protecting that blind side. Luke, just what's your immediate knee-jerk reaction, just kind of soaking up and digesting those 2 big names and any other injuries I may have missed as well? I know those were the 2 big names, top of my head.
I think those are the 2, and then whatever is Sam Darnold's dealing with.
Oh, sure.
Obviously, he gutted that out, but that foot injury that he was dealing with all week, and then they land on it, so that's probably something to keep an eye on, just how much he practices even this week. with Ivan Pace being out, I think that hurts them less than when Cashman is out. I think Cashman's a more important piece to this just because he's a more sound player. Sometimes they lose plays because of Ivan Pace, right? So I think the difference between him and Kamu is still, I mean, Pace is still clearly the better player, but by a lesser margin. So I think it'll hurt him less, but it doesn't not hurt them. I mean, Kamu did struggle a lot in this one. But obviously losing Cam Robinson is terrible, having to have Quessenberry out there. So even if you just kind of hope that if he does have to be out, that it's like a game or two and that it's not a Jake Long situation where you get a couple good games out of a guy and then, nope, you don't get a left tackle, says God.
How about Aaron Jones, too, looking, and for the record, 100-yard game for him. Also, I thought he looked hobbled at times getting up from tackles, not 100%. We know that. We know he's been banged up.
He was in his head, man.
That just might be like his like a Xavier Rhodes thing now. Like we know he is hobbled. I don't think he's 100%. I mean, after the London game, it just doesn't feel like he's 100%. But yeah, you're right. I noticed that as well, Sam, for sure. And you look at the stats the next day in the paper. Great game, phenomenal game. Maybe his best game statistically of the year. Mm-hmm.
My mission is to find out how many times in Vikings history they've had two receivers over 100 yards and one rusher over 100 yards. That's I can't think of the last time that happened. That's pretty stellar, especially Addison's game. I mean, Addison, who was sending cryptic Instagram messages about free three. I know it was his high school thing. Don't
what are you talking about?
162
The Bears
yards
freed three. My goodness, man.
For Jordan Addison. And the bomb to Addison, the contested grab, the yards after catch, the 70-yarder to start the second half where he tiptoed the sideline.
With no boundary cam?
No boundary cam. It looks like he was in, though.
I was going to ask you. I guess I didn't really get clarification. Would that have changed anything? It looked like he was in from the angles I saw anyways, without the boundary.
The boundary, well, Pereira said the boundary cam confirmed that it was good, but had it not been good, they wouldn't have been able to use that.
Got it. Yeah. Good to know. Ron, Coach's Corner, just some quick X's and O's here. Your favorite or even least favorite thing, I guess you saw from KOC or could be Flores, a challenge, a timeout, a play design, whatever it may be. That 3rd and 13 with Nick Mullins coming in, that play design to get Aaron Jones that wide open. That one's sticking out to me. But I guess what's your A topic from a coaching lens today, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say besides on that 4th and 1. I wish he'd just stay with the tush push or something like that, or use CJ Ham even. Taking the ball off the line of scrimmage, to me, I'm never a fan of that in 4th and 1. If you're going to go for it, you might as well just go for it. You didn't get it anyway, so you might as well run it and not get it. But the way the Bears defensive line was playing, I would have seen an easy way to just run the ball. Aaron Jones was running the ball like crazy on them. They were getting a huge push up front in the middle. The other one, special teams coaches. Like I don't understand. Like I don't know if the kicker missed that last kick and decided to kick it short, or if that was the call or what. But like that, the onside kick, fielding it, like you got to tell the guys, hey, keep an eye on where the ball lands or rolls. If it's not going 10 yards, have your head up. Like see the ball first. Don't just go run into guys. And that's why for Johnny Munn, if you see the ball coming, he should have just kept running through. Like get out the way. Like you got to kind of keep your head on the swivel and then go. And so it's tough, but you practice that though. So that's why you get paid a lot of money. You get put out there on the hands team with the new rules. I heard Gary Zahner, and we're going to probably have him on the Ron Johnson show because he seems very unhappy with the new kicking rules. Former Vikings special teams coordinator that was there for the Gary Anderson miss. He was a special teams coach for that team. But Gary Zahner, brought up that he hates the new onside kick rules and how it's like so many coaches, he wouldn't name names, but so many coaches he talked to in the NFL, they all hate it because you have to announce you're doing an onside kick. And he's like, does a quarterback have to announce he's about to throw the ball on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1? And he's like, this is dumb. So, I kind of understand a little bit of that.
Sam or Luke, last quick one before we move on to segment 3. Just shout out anybody on defense you kind of want to highlight. Maybe it's an unsung hero, a guy you just want to give some love and flowers to, I guess. Jonathan Bullard, and I don't know, I haven't watched any tape, obviously, after this game, but just in general this
every
year,
week, baby.
I don't think he
every
gets
week.
enough love, man. I mean, this is a top 2 running defense, if not number 1 in multiple categories and analytics. So him and Harrison Phillips, man, they've been dogs. And that was a huge worry for me. We talked a lot during training camp and preseason all summer. I was worried about this defensive line and interior of the defensive line. They've been fantastic. Anybody else you want to just shout out defensively today? Either of you guys, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Bullard, there's a two-play sequence, I think, that totally changed the game in overtime. 1st and 10, Bears have the ball and all the momentum in the world, and it's Bullard who sort of sealed the gap for Williams to sprint up the middle, and they had trouble containing him all day. He's unbelievable. He's a magician. Bullard fell on top of him, no gain, 1 yard maybe, and then the next play, the other Jonathan Grenard, in the open field against Caleb Williams was like stayed super disciplined, super patient, and just kind of backed him down and then wrapped him up in the open field. An incredible sack, another multi-sack game for Grenard. And that might have been the ball game right there. You put him in 3rd and 21. They took a penalty, 3rd and 26. And once you get the ball back in overtime, needing just a field goal, your win percentage goes up astronomically. So shout out to the Vikings there. When their backs were up against the wall, Williams had just moved it on them 2 consecutive drives, really 3 consecutive drives to get the back-to-back containments of Williams. That's what I'm going to think about.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to shout out Stephon Gilmore. There was a play, I want to say it wasn't overtime, but it was late in the game where they thought they had Rome Odunze on a deep kind of turkey hole shot. They kept trying that. And Stephon Gilmore made that diving pass breakup. I don't think he was even supposed to be near that. I think he was way deeper than he usually. I think that was cloud coverage. And I think he was playing it like really aggressively deep and was in position to make that play because he just was playing not scared of the flats at all. It takes some cojones to make that kind of play. So that was, and I think Gilmore was in a good spot all game long. I know they had a lot of stuff to Keenan Allen. A lot of that is scheme stuff. A lot of that is, we'll let you have your 7-yard out because it, works in the larger picture of things. It's just that this defense is fantastic in the first 28 minutes of every half. I don't know what happens to them in 2 minutes. Something about the way they approach 2 minute is fundamentally broken. The Bears got way too much production in the final 2 minute of halves, and it's been that way all year.
Yeah. Couple minutes left. Vikes finally get to go back home to US Bank. Let's dissect this Cardinals game and the schedule coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And now for a limited time, FanDuel's giving you a chance at a huge return with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. I just love FanDuel because when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. If it were me, I'd be looking at a heavy favorite money line to get my bonus. For example, last week, Texans beat up on the Cowboys straight up. They were 7-point favorites. That would have got it done. Go check out FanDuel.com and get in on all the action, including some Sunday Night Football action tonight. Eagles at the Rams in L.A. Current spread Philly. Road favorites by 3. Over-under sitting at 48.5. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. By the way, as always, full deep dive from this one on the Minnesota Football Party with our guy Arif Hassan. Make sure you make sure you subscribe to keep up with all of the action. That's every Monday and every Thursday. All right, Ron, good news is road trip gauntlet is over. The remaining schedule, just big picture here, only 6 games left. Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, all at home. Bears on Monday Night Football. What could go wrong there? Who knows? At Seattle in late December. That one might be kind of gross. Packers at home and then at Detroit. To me, these opponents just on paper, these last 6, they make me more worried than I was for like the Jags and Titans. But obviously you get almost all of them at home. And I feel like, and you tell me as a former player, there's got to be something about getting 3 in a row at home. Not to mention 5 of these last 6 are all in a dome, which obviously takes the weather, element out of things, which I think is huge this late in the season. But we're getting into crunch time here. When you look at that schedule, what's the first thing that you think of that kind of jumps out to you the most?
Well, yeah, they're going to have great weather down the stretch, except for maybe Seattle if it happens to rain out there. Yep. But let's hope for, a good weather game out there as well. The one thing I'll say about the schedule, I said this, and Sam remembers this. I said this stretch they would be 3-0 on the road. I was like, if there was any 3 games to have back-to-back-to-back, these were the 3. and they went 3-0. I am going to actually go to Vikings.com and grab that footage to make sure to tweet it out today, because I know everybody's going to be like, he didn't say that. Yeah, I did. It's on tape. Just go to Vikings.com and check it out. But I pointed out for the simple reason of early on, I looked at the Caleb Williams situation, which he's way better than I thought. I was hoping we would get him. And I said this too, Sam. I said the Vikings continue to get the quarterback they don't want, which is Caleb Williams under a good coordinator, which is Joe Flacco. Like, they never can get – they got Cooper Rush. Like, they never can get the guy they want that will work out better for their defense. But the way I look at the schedule right now, I don't see – like, other than the Lions game, I don't see a loss in there. Like, it's tough to find one the way they're playing. Again, we're going to have to see what happens with Cam Robinson, because that could change the scope of a little bit. But Aaron Jones and the run game – now, I don't know if this is a Cardinals game where you say, hey, we need to go maybe a little bit more Cam Akers, because we don't want Aaron Jones to be run down, because 22 carries is a lot for him. And so, yeah, but I do know he really wanted to do well against the Bears. And so I could tell that was a different type of, he got up for this game. But like I said, looking at the schedule, I think it's going to be win. And then the Lions, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And again, 3 out of these last 6 games, division games as well. So half these games, division games. Vikes, Cardinals, guys. I went to this game in 2022. Kirk Cousins showed off the wheels. He had that 23-yard scramble touchdown. It was right in front of me where I was sitting. I'll never forget it. Zadarius Smith had 3 sacks on Kyler. This is a much better Cardinals team than they were 2 years ago. Sam, just give me some early thoughts that you got. First thing that comes to mind, whether it's a game plan lens, whatever it may be, Vikes, Cardinals next week back at home.
Yeah, we'll get deep into the Cardinals scouting report for sure, and the Minnesota Football Party this week. I mean, they're 6-4. They're improved offensively, and there's the same threat you faced with Caleb Williams, you face with Kyler Murray. Is it the ability to create, the ability to extend plays? And Ron, you're pretty confident. I think that while the previous 4, you go in and you feel like you're a 75% chance winner, I think, in all those games. The next 6, I mean, they're all losable. Even though they're at home, a lot of them. Cardinals can put together a great game and beat you. The Falcons can put together a great game and beat you. Kirk revenge. Even Chicago again. I mean, with their offense functioning the way it is, I think they're all going to be tough. They've all been tough, and they're all going to be a little bit tougher. And you got to play even more cleanly. And Sam Darnold, I think, is the biggest encouraging piece here, in that no interceptions the last 2 weeks, showed you incredible resiliency and clutchness today. And we'll see what those injuries do, but I like this defense, especially at home. Now they'll get the home crowd working back into it. It's going to be a fun next 6 games, because all these games are going to feel really big. Because if I'm not mistaken, they're all, except for maybe Seattle, above 500 right now, and Seattle's at 500. So you're going to have winning teams the rest of the way, great tests before the playoffs.
Hey,
and before
Ron,
I get out of here, what are you saying?
I was just going to say, I know they all balance out at the end, but 3 straight on the road. But how nice is it to have 3 in a row? As a former player, 3 in a row at home to finally get a little week-to-week rhythm, knowing you ain't going anywhere for a while. How much does that stuff really move the needle at all for NFL teams or players?
Oh, I think a lot. I mean, I think the biggest thing, too, is not having to travel for injury. So you look at all the guys that are banged up. You can get that extra day of treatment on Saturday versus having to get on the plane. You can get treatment, go home for a little bit, then get down to the hotel by whatever time they say, 6, 7 o'clock for meetings. So I think that does change it up a little bit. You don't have the little swelling here and there. You don't, so all, home cooked meals and having your family around home, the defense, having a crowd to shut make the quarterback have to think more. I think that's the key. And the other thing I'll say is Sam Darnold, this is the best 11-game start he's ever had in his career, and he's on pace to throw for 3,700 yards as long as he throws for 217 yards a game, which I think is going to happen. So he's on pace for 4,000 yards, in my opinion, the way he's playing.
Well said. That's Ron Johnson. Check him out every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show. He always pops on the Football Party every Thursday as well on X at 3 Ron Johnson. Thanks a lot, Ron. Luke, I don't want to move on without getting your 2 cents. Just, it could be about the Cardinals, or it could be about these last 6 games, kind of big picture. How about this? How do we feel about the NFC North kind of big picture moving forward? Like, everybody's already had this conversation about the NFC North is this year's best division. Now that we got a real taste of each team at least once. We saw Caleb now today up close and personal. How do you guys feel about this division in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll find out, right? That has a lot to
Obviously.
do with how you feel about Caleb and how you feel about JJ McCarthy. We don't know anything about that. How committed, how patient the Packers are going to be with Jordan Love if he's going to put out, a 3-interception game. How many of those before you start getting frustrated? But here's what I wanted to say. The Vikings just went and won 3 in a row on the road. The other time you have to go win 3 in a row on the road when you don't win the division and you have to go play in the playoffs. Better teams than Jacksonville and Tennessee and Chicago, right? But being able to sort of string those together and kind of get a dry run for what they'll probably have to go accomplish if they really do want to reach the promised land. And the Vikings have now put together 4 win streaks of 4 games in a row. What do you have to do to win the Super Bowl? Win 4 games in a row. So they have proven and I think laid the foundation for they can indeed do what they have to do. It's not these 10-6 Kirk Cousins teams that could never, that were always a week-to-week proposition. A week-to-week proposition can't go make it through the playoffs because you have one bad game, you're done. The Vikings have strung a bunch of these together, and especially Sam Darnold now, 2 straight games with no interception, absolutely humming. There's a lot to be excited about. So yeah, bring on better teams. Let's test it.
Yeah.
Darnold was 11 of 21 at one point, and then finished the game fourth quarter overtime 11 of 13 for 166. And
you just needed to hurt his foot a little, and then that was it.
Get the juices flowing. Yeah,
man.
The overtime.
What'd they give him on the sideline?
Had to come back from 2nd and 17, and then a 3rd and 10 to convert there. Then again, 1st and 20. I believe, on the next series to get the first down. Just incredible stuff. Like, that's the kind of game where if you just saw it in a vacuum, you would say, oh, I want that guy back next year. Now, we can't erase what we know from previous weeks, but today was one of those days where that's a quarterback you would want. That's probably a quarterback somebody will get at a nice dollar amount next year for a long-term deal.
Well, speaking of patience, Luke was just talking about Packers. How patient will they be with Jordan Love? I mean, think about Sam Darnold, man. And again, we talk about a lot. The ecosystem matters a lot. Who these guys are surrounded with, the coaches, the players, the talent, the weapons, the offensive line, the running game, all that stuff. But you look at Sam Darnold from where he started, how much he struggled in New York and Carolina, looked okay. San Fran 1 year, quick little pit stop. But to where he is now, it's been an incredible journey, man. And obviously, it's been a lot of fun to watch for Vikings fans specifically. Last one before we get out of here. Anything else jumping out to you guys around the league in Week 12? Some huge games going on, albeit a lot of buys this week. So not quite the same big slate we normally have. I usually try to watch some red zone and flip around. I watched almost no red zone today because I was glued on this Vikings-Bears game.
Not the worst collapse in the NFC by the Vikings because the Commanders and Cowboys game went just as nutty. Apparently, it was wild red zone flipping between the two games. The only ending I saw,
yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jaden
Big
hits Terry McLaurin
83-yard Terry McLaurin touchdown to tie it, miss the extra point, lose the game. Wow.
I will say that the Kansas City Chiefs, like if you feel bad about giving up an 11-point lead late to an inferior team on the road, the Chiefs literally did the exact same thing. Same score, 27-16. Panthers come back with a late 2-point conversion, tie the game at 27, and then Mahomes does his thing. They go down for a game-winning field goal, win 30-27. But this happens. This happens especially on the road against bad teams. Goofy stuff happens in the National Football League. Vikings were 99.9% winners, according to ESPN's win probability in the fourth quarter. And this game went to overtime. Crazy league.
A way to put that for people who are like really mad about the collapse, right? And about the way the onside kick is the key cog here. Everything they did up to that point is the right decision, right? You can't go for it on 4th and 1 when you're up 8. Like, just kick the field goal, make it a 2-score game. The way they played defense is totally fine. 20 seconds in an onside kick, you win that game most of the time. And put it this way. Next time they are up 2 scores, next time they have the ball, let's say, up 8 with, 3 or 4 minutes to go, they are kicking that field goal every time, and you're probably going to feel good about it. And that, by the way, whatever problem happened on that onside kick, you best believe Matt Daniels going to be all over that. They'll never give up another one.
Vikes survive OT in Soldier thanks to Sam Darnold's game-winning drive. 9-2 on the year, guys. 5-1 on the road. Is that right? This team is 5-1 on the road. Final score today, 30-24. Hey, huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Check out Ron again on the Ron Johnson Show. That's every Tuesday. Luke Brown, always crushing it over on Locked On Vikings. Sam Ekstrom, the captain on the Minnesota Football Party. Again, that's every Monday and every Thursday, so make sure you make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. December 1st, Vikes Cardinals, noon kickoff, back at the bank. That might get flexed. When do we find out if it's going to get flexed either way or not? There's got to be like a cutoff point, right?
Sorry, which one? The Cardinals game is already too late.
Yeah, I feel like we would have.
So it's Sunday at noon. Okay.
No, the deadline is passed. They would have had to tell us last week.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, well, back at the bank next week. Should be another good one. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing